What the actual hell was that? Donald Trump literally crushed the stock market on Monday, got everyone talking about a possible recession, and then he goes like, you know what, I changed my mind. No reciprocal tariffs in the near future, but the tariff on China's jumping to 125%. And suddenly everything turns green again. It's especially great news for all the penguins and seals down near Antarctica. So don't worry guys, you can keep on ripping off the United States without facing tariffs just yet. But honestly, I don't even know. Maybe by now the market's already crushed again and he's reversed his reverse decision. But here's the real question. Was that a genius move like the White House claims, or just a global scam? Today we're going to figure that out without bias or emotion, and here's the plan. I'm going to ask AI what it thinks about this 90-day tariff pause and whether it was planned from the beginning or not. Then ChatGPT will try to understand Trump's own logic behind the move, as if that can be done. And finally, it'll give its prediction for where the US economy is headed and what we should expect, assuming it's even possible to predict anything with Trump involved. And if you want to support the channel or just say thanks, here's what you can do. Hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts, and hit the bell so that you never miss any of my weekly conversations with AI. Thank you so much, and now let's get right into it. Here we go. First, we need to gather up all the latest news about Trump and that 90-day tariff pause, and then I'll start asking my questions. Alright, now it's ready. I'm gonna ask it to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, call things exactly as they are, with no sugarcoating or left or right-leaning takes. And most importantly, I want it to give its own honest take on everything that I ask. First up, I want to ask ChatGPT to explain that economic roller coaster. Was it a good move, and was it planned from the beginning or not? And here's the answer. Was the 90-day pause a good move? Yes, but only in the sense that it prevented Trump from making a bad situation even worse. This wasn't a brilliant strategy or an act of leadership. It was damage control, plain and simple. If Trump had simply done nothing, literally nothing, the economy would likely be in better shape right now. We wouldn't have markets on edge, business owners scrambling, or widespread uncertainty about what happens next. The pause only seems smart when you compare it to the alternative, slapping broad, harsh tariffs on nearly every US trading partner at once. So sure, this is the better option, but let's be honest, that's a very low bar to clear. Was this pause planned? Absolutely. This wasn't some sudden change of heart. Trump has a well-established pattern: make a bold, disruptive threat, then pull back just enough to seem calculated. That pause was always a fallback option, almost certainly mapped out from the start. He kicked off the tariff chaos, knowing he could hit the brakes later, cool things down, and make it look like he was being flexible without actually backing off. And the timing wasn't accidental either. Markets were shaky, recession fears were rising, and inflation still hadn't cooled off. Even some of his allies were starting to panic. This pause was a way to slow the fallout and shift the narrative to look like he's opening the door to negotiations while still keeping the heat on China. Bottom line, the 90-day pause only looks like a good decision because the original plan was a wreck. If Trump had just kept quiet and avoided throwing the global trade system into chaos, we wouldn't be here. This wasn't a reset, it was pulling the fire alarm after lighting the match himself. Well, alright, great analogy by the way. In short, thank you Donald Trump for saving us from your own decision. But now let's find out what ChatGPT thinks about the excuse he gave for the pause. He said that over 75 countries approached the United States asking to negotiate, and that's why he's allowing them to avoid tariffs. So what does ChatGPT think about it all? And here's the answer. Could some countries have reached out behind the scenes? Sure, maybe a few did. That wouldn't be surprising. Some governments probably wanted clarification. Others may have asked for exemptions, and a few might have offered to talk just to buy time. But the idea that 75+ nations suddenly scrambled to negotiate because they were all terrified of Trump's tariff threats? That sounds like classic Trump exaggeration. It plays right into the image he loves to project. The whole world fears me, and they're lining up to make deals on my terms. But here's what it really looks like. That claim is more of a cover story than anything else. The US economy was flashing warning signs, markets were on edge, business leaders were panicking. You had economists openly talking about a potential recession if blanket tariffs went into effect. Inflation, which was finally cooling down, risked spiking again, and Wall Street was not reacting well to Trump's reciprocal tax threat, and he knew it. So instead of pushing forward and letting things crash, he pauses the tariffs for 90 days, but he needs a way to spin it. If he just says, "Okay, I'm backing off for now," it looks weak. It looks like he lost nerve. That's not his style. So what does he say instead? "Actually, I'm pausing because everyone's begging me for deals." His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, backed him up, saying over 75 countries expressed interest in negotiating tailored agreements. But again, no details, no names, no confirmed talks. Just vague claims. And we're supposed to believe that nearly half the world showed up at his doorstep in a matter of days? It just doesn't hold up. Bottom line, this isn't about diplomacy. It's not about leadership. It's not about respect. This is about saving face and calming markets without admitting that the original plan, massive tariffs across the board, was a grenade rolling toward the economy. So yeah, that 75 countries line, it's not a sign of strength, it's a PR move dressed up as a victory lap. Got it. And one last follow-up before we move on. I want to ask what the real reason behind it was, and basically sum it all up, and here it is. The real purpose of Trump's move wasn't about trade. It was to manipulate the markets and manage the political fallout from his own tariff threats. The economy was reacting badly. Stocks were sliding, recession fears were rising, and pressure was building fast. He needed to stop the bleeding, so instead of admitting that his tariff plan was tanking business confidence, he hit pause just long enough to stabilize the situation and make it look like a calculated strategic shift. But let's be honest, this wasn't strategy, it was optics. Trump created the chaos, then tried to play the role of the guy who's calming it down. That's not leadership, that's classic market manipulation for political gain. And the cost of that move is huge, because now the world sees it for what it is. Unpredictable threats followed by last-minute retreats. Allies and trade partners are watching this play out and realizing that the word of the US president doesn't mean anything anymore. One day it's full-scale tariffs, the next it's a pause, and the day after that, who knows? That kind of flip-flop isn't power, it's instability. So yes, maybe he avoided a meltdown, for now, but the price is trust, credibility, and global confidence in the US itself. And once that's gone, it's not easy to get back. Alright, we're done with that part for now. Let me know in the comments down below whether or not you agree with the real reason that ChatGPT gave. Up next, I'm going to ask it about the 125% tariff on China, and after that, it'll predict the future of the US economy with moves like this, and whether Trump will impose his reciprocal tariffs after the 90-day pause or not. But before we move on, here's a quick reminder. If you're enjoying the video, make sure you hit that like button right now, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because trust me, it really does help. Likes, shares, comments, that's the best way to show YouTube that you're into it and that you want more. So go ahead and do all of that right now. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's time to get to the final part. So, what does ChatGPT think about the 125% tariff on China, and what does it mean for the US? Here's the answer. Yes, Trump did raise tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%, and honestly, it's a big deal. On the surface, it might sound like a strong, decisive move, and to be fair, going after China's trade practices isn't wrong. China has spent years using unfair tactics like forced tech transfers, government-backed industries, and IP theft. So yes, it's good to finally address that head on. But here's the problem. A 125% tariff is not a surgical strike. It's a sledgehammer, and it won't just hurt China. It's going to hit American families, businesses, and workers right here at home. Most of what we import from China, electronics, furniture, auto parts, tools, basic household goods, go straight into American homes and factories. So when you slap a 125% tax on those products, you're not just hurting China's economy, you're making everyday life in the US more expensive. Inflation goes up, supply chains get disrupted, small businesses get squeezed. And working class families, they feel it first. So yes, it's right to challenge China, but doing it this way, with a brute force tariff hike and no clear plan, that's going to hurt Americans more than it hurts China. This isn't strategy, it's shock value. And if it keeps going, the cost of proving a point is going to land squarely on US households. Alright, well, honestly, I'm not even sure whether ChatGPT was praising Trump or criticizing him at this point. But now let's move on to the final question and ask ChatGPT to predict what may happen next with the economy in great detail and whether Trump will go through with the reciprocal tariffs once the 90-day pause is over. And here's what it said. If I had to bet on how this plays out, here's what I see. Trump likely won't fully go through with the reciprocal tariffs after the 90-day pause. Why? Because he knows the economy can't handle it, and more importantly, he doesn't want to own the consequences. What's more likely is that, as the deadline approaches, he'll announce that he made deals with a bunch of countries, claim victory, and either cancel or soften the tariffs. Will those deals be real? Probably not. We'll get vague announcements, symbolic changes, maybe a few tweaks here and there, but the headlines will likely shift to whatever else Trump is doing by that time. It's political theater. Create the crisis, walk it back, take credit for solving it, and change the narrative. As for China, that's different. He's not looking for a quick off-ramp there. He wants to keep pressure on China because it plays well politically and gives him a clear enemy to point to. Those 125% tariffs, he'll hold the line, and China will respond, probably with more retaliation, restrictions, and slow, steady decoupling from US trade. What does it mean for the US? We'll probably avoid a short-term collapse. The market might even rally when Trump announces he's secured deals, but under the surface, the damage will be real. Trust in US trade policy will erode, inflation could tick back up, and our global credibility will keep things slipping. Even if the tariffs don't fully hit, the uncertainty alone is toxic. Companies can't plan, investors get jittery, and allies stop believing the US keeps its word. Bottom line, Trump will likely lift most tariffs at the last minute, claim he got what he wanted, and spin it as a win. But it's not real strength, it's a staged retreat. The US avoids immediate disaster, but the long-term cost is this: nobody takes our economic threats or our promises seriously anymore. And that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments what you expect with moves like this from Donald Trump, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description to support the channel directly. Then go ahead and click on this video where ChatGPT breaks down Trump's Liberation Day speech and his so-called reciprocal tariffs in detail. Thanks for watching, click over to that video, and I'll see you there in just a moment.